Hey YouTube, this is New York Half-Ass Prepper here. This is my second in my series, Back in My Day. And back in my day, this is what we had for telephones. If you wanted to place a call, you used this. This was your phone. Most houses had one. Some like rich people had two of these. They looked most like this. Some of them were red, and so there was some other colors out there. But this is an old rotary dial telephone. And back in my day, this is what you had to do to place a call. You picked up the phone, and you would hear dial tone, and then you would put your finger in here and dial a number. Now, the numbers actually had letters in them. That's why there's letters on here also. My number when we were a kid was Bedford 4 7578. So you would dial the first two digits, B, E. So the number actually became 234 7578 after many years. But like on the phone, this particular exchange was Wilson. I think I garbage picked this phone years ago, but it was Wilson 18602. And if you remember the old song Pennsylvania 6 5000, that's the actual number for the Hotel Pennsylvania. And that number is really old, predates me, where the first three letters were PEN, and that's what you dialed. So anyway, these phones had a wire on them. There was no cordless back then. And this is what it looked like. You had a 4-prong jack that you had to plug into the wall. And I don't know if this is labeled anywhere on here. But that's how you, there's a little lever in there that controls the ringer to make it loud or make it soft. But anyway, all of this was owned by the Bell system back then. The Bell system was the phone company, Ma Bell, and they owned the phone, and they owned the wire, and they owned the wire going to the telephone pole, and they owned most of the telephone poles and all the wires, and they owned the central office and the switches and everything. And then around 1980, the government got after them and said they had a monopoly. So they broke up the phone company, and then you started getting companies like Sprint, MCI, and AT&T were handling some of the calls because the government had to break it up. So there was no more Ma Bell phone system, and then you had what was called a regional Bell operating company that took your calls. So that happened in the very early 80s. I think 1982 was the actual modification of Final Judgment by Judge Green. So anyway, that's back even when I was real young, and you went to certain really rural areas, they didn't even have any dial tone. You would pick up the phone, and you would wait, and then there would be an operator would come on, and she would say, "Number, please." They were all female back then. She would say, "Number, please," and then you just read out the number to her, and she would say, "Okay, connecting the call," and she would connect the call for you. That was very few places when we went traveling. Some places they didn't even have a dial tone yet. But anyway, later on, I ended up getting married, and my wife used to work for the phone company. She was a technician, like a repair person. She used to work on the lines. So she had instruments like these. And this is what's called a linesman's butt set. And you used to hang this on your belt or your tool pouch. And this was like a phone. You would talk into this. It had a switch to turn it on and turn it off. And at the end of the wire here, it just has two alligator clips. So you can clip on to the wires, or you can clip on these are like just basic alligator clips, but some of the later styles had clips like these. I got a bunch of them. We had a little collection going here. They had clips like these, which there's a little bed of nails in there. And you could actually just go up onto the pole and clip on to the insulation right on the wires. And that little alligator clip or the point would actually pierce the wires. And you could get dial tone and you could make a call. And the phone company technicians had all these secret tricks to identify what number they were on. They had a secret number that they dialed, and it would read out what phone line you were on. And they used it to they used to be able to you could eavesdrop on the conversations being out on the pole, And you spell. That's how they used to call their boss. They'd call their boss, and the boss would say, "All right, well, need you to go over here and you know, do this kind of work for the next few hours." So that's what they had. There's a couple different versions of it, but they all got these dials on them. Same thing. They got the numbers and the letters. And this one here is a real old example. This one here, you can even put your fingers into this dial. You actually took a pen and you stuck a pen in there, and that's how you dialed it. That's a real old school one. And the other cool thing about these things is if these were actually very reliable, they hardly ever broke. But if they did break, you actually, if you knew what you were doing, you could fix it. But you would have to call the phone company, obviously from someone else's phone, report that it was out, and they would send a repair technician into your house, and they would open this thing up, and they would fix it. They would take it all apart and they'd fix it, because it's actually very modular inside. There's a transformer, a bell, and a couple other mechanisms. Very simple technology in there, and they would fix the thing for you, and they would, you know, it would all be part of your. It would be free of charge. It would be part of your you know, your phone service. You'd pay a monthly bill, and away the guy would go. And then later on, they changed the laws where you could actually, you know, you could buy one of these yourself and put it in your house, and you could have as many as you wanted in your house. But in the early days, if you wanted a phone, you called them up, they installed one phone. If you wanted a second phone, they charged you extra per month for the second phone. It was kind of bizarre. And they actually still kept leasing phones even after they broke up the phone company and said you could buy your own. They continued the leasing business up well into the... they probably still lease phones somewhere, but well, as far as I know, into the 90s, you could actually lease a phone from AT&T or some other company. So that's it. That's my little rant on dial telephones. If you got any questions, especially young guys that never seen these before, put them in the comments. I got many hours sitting on my mother's sofa talking on the phone here. So, because we didn't have, there was no internet back then, there was no iPods. We did have TV, but it only had like 3 channels on it. You know, it was color though. The VCR had not been invented yet. That came out a little bit later. I'll do a video on that. So, that's it. New York Half-Ass Prepper. I'm out.